Well, first of all, Happy New Year. And it's definitely a Happy New Year indeed for so many people who rely on access to safe, affordable housing in San Francisco. It is our #1 priority. When we look at the challenges that we face with homelessness, and we're wondering why aren't we able to do more, it's because we need to make sure that we have housing, we have opportunities to do more. It's why I'm committed to opening up 1,000 new shelter beds to get people off the streets. It's why I'm committed to master leasing so many buildings that might be available, like the Abigail Hotel, where we're standing in, where we have access to 62 new units that will help people who were formerly homeless get a great and safe and affordable place to call home without the social services, so it's not as expensive as someone who might need a lot more support and wraparound services. This is what some of us call in this world step-up housing, because sadly we know that there are people who live on our streets and have a number of challenges. And in many cases, when we're able to get someone into one of our shelter beds, the goal is to understand what the challenges are. Do they need assistance with mental health? Do they need assistance with their addiction? Do they need assistance just to get a job and get back on their feet? And oftentimes, if we're able to transition them out of the shelter, it's usually into supportive housing, where there's a network of people who are there to provide wraparound supportive services to get them back on their feet. And the great thing about the Bristol and places like the Abigail, which we're here today, is those people have benefited from incredible programs and are ready to move on with their lives and are not in need of the social services that they once were in need of. And I think that's great. But we gotta make sure that they have opportunities to move to the next level. And that's what today is all about. And really focusing on providing opportunities for people to step up and to be independent and to be able to take care of themselves is important. But we know affordability is challenging, and it takes really a village to make opportunities like this possible. Thankfully, here in San Francisco, we are making investments in acquiring as many units as we possibly can to provide these opportunities. But it does take partners like Tipping Point, and Daniel Lurie is here today, who's been an incredible partner in raising the money and investing it in providing opportunities for people to get housed. Today is an incredible opportunity to do just that. And let me just say that it's not just about the Abigail, where we have 62 units. We are going to be opening another place of 89 units at Post Street, which will be managed by the Episcopal Community Services, one of our leading housing providers, and there, people who sadly are in our shelters will be able to transition to those units, and that will make room for more people. And I think that's really what's great about the system that we're setting up and all of the amazing partners that continue to work with us to provide these incredible opportunities. And importantly, the building owners. Deepak Patel and Sam Patel, thank you so much for supporting and working with us here in the city to allow us to work with you to get access to these buildings. And thank you to all the service providers and the Tenderloin Housing Clinic. I know Randy Shaw couldn't make it here today, but he's a firm believer in step-up housing, and he's been fighting hard for a long time to make this a reality for people. So when people talk about San Francisco and the fact that, you know, there's homelessness, there's challenges with homelessness, we know that. It's not unique to San Francisco. It's happening all over the state of California. And the fact is, we have not done enough to build housing so that we have what we need to get people housed. We just haven't. And so here in the city, we're lucky because people care about making sure folks are housed. So the $600 million affordable housing bond passed by voters will be a great opportunity to invest in building more affordable housing, but we can't build it fast enough. So having access to the Abigail, having access to the Post Street site, and to the Bristol where there's another step-up housing. Those are so important to getting people housed now. And so I just want to thank everyone who is here today and all of your work that sometimes it skates under the radar and people are not completely familiar with everything that goes into making an opportunity like this possible. It is appreciated. It is going to make a difference for 89 people at Post Street and 62 people right here at the Abigail. It is going to make a difference for so many people, and I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to do just that today. And the person who has helped in our efforts to move the needle on homelessness, who probably every time I call him and I tell him about somebody, he actually not only knows the name of that person, but the whole story about their medical history and family and when they came here and everything else. Believe it or not, you know, it's a tough job to manage our homeless department here in San Francisco, but Jeff Kaczynski does it because he cares and because he knows that last year when we helped 2,146 people exit homelessness, that's 2,146 people that are not sleeping on our streets tonight, and that matters. So ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Office of Homelessness here in San Francisco, Jeff Kaczynski.
Thank you, Mayor Breed, for those kind words, and thank you especially for your leadership to expand critical resources that we desperately need to help people living in crisis on our streets. Mayor Breed understands that shelters are only part of the solution, that we have to create housing opportunities for all types of low-income households, especially for people who are experiencing homelessness. You know, every single night, the city houses nearly 10,000 formerly homeless people, and every week we help 50 people permanently exit homelessness. However, for every person that we help exit homelessness, there's 3 newly homeless people coming behind them. So obviously, we have a lot more work to do. And housing is a big part of the solution to homelessness, and thanks to Mayor Breed's relentless focus and leadership on this issue, we have over 1,700 units of housing and housing subsidies in the pipeline, in addition to those that we're celebrating here today. So there's a lot more of these openings to come. It's also really important to remember that behind all of these numbers are people. And that each person with lived experience, each person who has struggled with homelessness has a unique story. However, the one thing that they all have in common is resilience and courage and taking the steps to move beyond homelessness. It's hard work, and it's a challenge, and it's a great honor for myself and for my colleagues to play a part, a small part really, in the role of helping people overcome homelessness by bringing buildings like the Abigail and the Post online. And doing this work, I don't want to diminish how hard it is, because it actually is tremendously difficult. It takes a lot of people, a lot of leadership, a lot of hard work, a lot of funding. So in addition to the mayor, I want to thank a few other people who she already mentioned, but I want to thank again as well. Of course, I want to thank Daniel Lurie from Tipping Point. Tipping Point Community is contributing $3 million towards opening the next 300 units of housing, including these 2 sites. We're very grateful for the support that they have given. And also want to thank not only Deepak and Sam Patel, the owners of the Post and the Abigail. Actually, there's more than 3,000 privately owned units that we're master leasing throughout the city. They're responsible for nearly half of the city's permanent supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness, and they're really unsung heroes and very important partners, and I just want to thank them and their colleagues and all of the owners of the more than 3,000 units that the city is currently master leasing. And of course, want to acknowledge all the amazing city staff who have worked on this issue, all of my colleagues at the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, my colleagues at the Mayor's Office, the City Attorney's Office, the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, the Real Estate Department. All of these staff work tirelessly on projects like this, and we're greatly appreciative for their efforts. So Before I took this job, I spent most of my career running affordable and supportive housing, both in Texas and in California. And I know how incredibly hard it is to operate buildings like this and to do the work and to turn a housing unit into a home for somebody who was experiencing homelessness. These sites operate 24/7, and the nonprofit organizations that run them do an amazing job of helping the people who are struggling to exit homelessness or to move on from permanent supportive housing to be successful and to become their best selves. So I especially want to acknowledge and thank Beth Stokes from the Episcopal Community Services and everybody who's here in Tabitha, and Randy couldn't be here from Tenderloin Housing Clinic. They do an incredible amount of work making these projects happen, and we're grateful to them and to everybody else who was part of this. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Jeff. And now, again, as I said, you know, the city, we can't do it alone, and we're fortunate to have an incredible partner in Tipping Point, and Tipping Point, as Jeff has said, provided $3 million to help make this possible, which moved this project along sooner rather than later. And to speak on behalf of Tipping Point is Daniel Lurie.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everybody that is making this work possible. We started Tipping Point 15 years ago with a promise to invest in the best solutions that prevent poverty, including housing, early childhood, education, and employment. The silver lining to the homelessness crisis that the mayor outlined is that we know what it takes to get people housed. That's permanent supportive housing, and it works. Over 85% of people who enter permanent supportive housing never experience homelessness again. The opening of the Post and the Abigail exemplify the important role that philanthropy can play in supporting effective solutions in partnership with the mayor and the city government. Tipping Point is providing $3 million in flexible dollars that can be used for a wide range of needs, from apartment repairs to new furniture. These are funds that service providers can use to do whatever it takes to get units online fast. Mayor Breed, thank you for your leadership and your commitment to this issue. I want to also thank the Tenderloin Neighborhood Development Corporation and Episcopal Community Services for your tireless work on behalf of our most vulnerable neighbors. And I want to thank everyone who is saying yes to solutions. We can do this, but it will take all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. And as I said before, Randy Shaw has been really a serious advocate for step-up housing, and I'm really excited that we're partnering on the Abigail to make this possible. We also partnered on the Bristol, and so these are two incredible properties of step-up housing. And here to represent Tenderloin Housing Clinic, since Randy couldn't be here, is Tabitha Allen.
Hi. Randy sends his regrets. He really wanted to be here today. This is a really special project to him, a special building to him. He accounts stories of the history of this building and him as a organizer in 1980 when he organized residents in this building to prevent the then owners, not current owners, the then owners from starting a bed and breakfast in this building, and they were successful in doing that, and he has very fond memories of that project and his work with this building. We are really excited to partner with HSH and the city to open some additional step-up housing. This is a really beautiful building, 62 units, all bathrooms. We will have a nice community kitchen and laundry room and community room for the residents here. I also want to thank Deepak, the owner, for this partnership, and HSH and the mayor for providing this opportunity for the residents that will get to move into this building. And then I also internally really want to thank Isara, who is our director of facilities, who has spent countless hours and lots of time already on her work making sure that this building is a success and making sure that this building is going to be a wonderful building for the residents that move in. Thank you.
You know, it's also really great to open up places like this because they provide opportunities. And almost every time we do it, Episcopal Community Services, they're always at the forefront of not only helping with properties like this, but some of our shelters and navigation centers. And so we are grateful for their partnership and their work, and here to represent the organization is Beth Stokes.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. I got an email last week, during a holiday week, to see if I was available to participate in an announcement of 150 new homes. And I was delighted. I was super excited to start the year off in 2020 with the announcement of new homes for our unhoused community members in San Francisco. So it's a great way to start the year. I'm so happy to be here for this announcement. I want to thank everyone who invited us to be a part of the celebration and for the opening of the Abigail and the Post. It's truly a celebration of homes, and I want to stress that. I want to thank Mayor Breed for her continued leadership and unwavering commitment toward proven solutions to ending homelessness in San Francisco. It really takes vision, and it takes a community, as she stated, so thank you. Housing ends homelessness, right? We know this. Yet supportive housing is a proven intervention for the most vulnerable, chronically unhoused in our community, providing needed housing and stability for folks to address their overall health and wellness. Quite simply, supportive housing is health care, and I say that all the time. It effectively reduces emergency room visits, we know this, inpatient hospitalizations for our highest need neighbors who are living in homelessness today. Supportive housing works, as Daniel said. Again, we really believe this. We know it's proven. ECS, our board, and our staff that are here, thank you for being here, are super excited to partner with Mayor Breed, HSH, and Sam Patel, thank you, the owner of the Post, on these 89 solutions to ending chronic homelessness in San Francisco. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Today we have a resident of the Bristol, Mitch, who wants to talk about his experience and why this is so important.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm a tenant at the Bristol Hotel, and I'd like to emphasize that supportive housing does work. I was in supportive housing for 7 years, and I got the opportunity to move to the newly remodeled Bristol Hotel, and I love it. It's a home for me, and I don't expect to leave anytime soon, and I'm very happy with the whole process. And anybody who gets step-up housing like the Abigail is very lucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, everyone else, for being here today and all the folks who helped to make this possible. Again, the solution, as Beth said, to ending homelessness is housing. And it takes opportunities like this. It takes building more faster and thinking about ways that we can get more creative to get more access to opportunities so that we can get people off the streets and we can keep people who are vulnerable housed in the first place. That's our goal. That's the opportunity we're providing today, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much.